Let's be real for a second. Have you ever felt like you were wearing a mask? You know, that version of yourself you show the world, the one that's all smiles and confidence, but underneath, there's this other part of you that stays completely hidden. Well, today, we're not just going to talk about that hidden self. We're going to figure out how to welcome it back home. So let's just jump right in with a question I want you to just sit with for a moment. What part of me have I been hiding? This one simple question, it's the key that unlocks this entire journey we're about to go on. You know what I'm talking about. It's that part of you that feels the sting of a harsh word long after everyone else has forgotten it was said. It's the part that keeps a perfect record of everything that's ever hurt you, even while you're telling the world, I'm fine. It's this incredibly private and, often wounded part of being human. And that hidden side, well, it has a name. It's called your shadow. Now, the goal here isn't to get scared and run away from it, not at all. The whole point is to finally turn around, look it in the eye with some real curiosity, and ask what it's been trying to tell you all this time. Okay, so let's break this down. What exactly is the shadow? It's so important to get this right off the bat. This is not something evil. It's not a sign that you're broken or flawed. It's actually a totally universal part of being alive. It's simply all the pieces of ourselves we learned we had to hide away to fit in. So don't think of your shadow self as some kind of monster in the closet. A better way to picture it is like a bag we all carry. And inside that bag are all these perfectly normal human things. Our anger, our sadness, our gut feelings that we were taught to stuff down, usually because they made our parents or our teachers or our friends a little uncomfortable. And how did this even happen? Well, think about it. As a kid, you were probably told, don't be angry. So what did you do? You learned to bury that inner fire. Maybe you heard, oh, you're just too sensitive. So you learned to silence your intuition. Little by little, piece by piece, you built a mask, a version of you that you hoped would be easier to love. But here's the thing, wearing that mask for years and years, it comes with a really high price. The biggest cost of all, we risk forgetting who we actually are underneath it. We lose touch with that authentic, vibrant, real self that was there before the world started handing us rules about who we should be. So what happens when we suppress all this stuff? When we just push it down and pretend it's not there? Well, it doesn't just disappear. It goes underground. And from there, it has this huge, unseen influence over pretty much everything we do. In the background, all that suppressed energy, it just gets stronger, and it starts to quietly steer your choices. It creates the same old patterns in your relationships, and it totally hijacks your emotional reactions. It's why sometimes we snap or we self-sabotage, and we have no idea why we just did what we did. So if you ever feel like you're stuck in a loop, attracting the same kind of partner or facing the same disappointment over and over again, I want you to consider this. Maybe it's not fate. Maybe it's your unhealed self, your shadow, just repeating its story, desperately hoping that this time you'll finally be quiet enough to listen. The psychologist Carl Jung, who was the pioneer of this whole concept, he put it perfectly. He said this, the unconscious parts of us, they don't just go away. They end up steering the ship. Your shadow isn't your enemy. It's more like an unread map that's just been waiting for you to finally decide you want to see where it leads. So how do we actually do this? This brings us to the journey itself. And let me be really clear, shadow work is not about fixing yourself, because you were never broken to begin with. It's really just a brave process of meeting yourself with total honesty and, this is the most important part, with a ton of compassion. The work itself begins with these really simple but deep questions. It's about finding a quiet moment, taking a deep breath, and just gently asking, with no agenda, what part of me is still hurting? Or maybe you could ask, why do I avoid my anger so much? Anger is a big one for a lot of us, right? We're taught it's bad or dangerous, so every time it comes up, we shove it back down, trapping all that powerful energy inside us. And what about vulnerability? Oof, we hide that because we're terrified of being judged, of looking weak. Shadow work just invites you to gently, and I mean gently, explore that fear instead of automatically running away from it. The actual practice can be incredibly simple. You just pause, you take a breath, and you just witness. You just watch what's coming up inside you. And the key here is you're not trying to analyze it, you're not trying to fix it or make it go away. You are just giving it the space to finally be seen. And that right there, that's everything. Just becoming aware of these hidden parts without immediately judging them is one of the most profound acts of self-love you can possibly do. It is the very first step to feeling whole again. And this brings us to the real magic of shadow work. See, healing doesn't come from cutting away the parts of you that you don't like. Real, lasting healing comes from integration, from bringing all those lost, exiled parts of yourself back home. This is where we completely reframe those so-called negative emotions. When you finally allow yourself to feel your anger, you discover its gift. It shows you exactly where your boundaries have been crossed. When you face your fear, you find out where your courage lives. When you sit with your sadness, you unlock this incredible capacity for empathy. And I really need you to hear this. The shadow is not just a storage unit for your pain. It also holds some of your greatest gifts. Your wild creativity, your powerful intuition, your raw, untamed power. So often, those amazing things are buried right alongside the stuff we were taught to be ashamed of. So, what's the ultimate goal of all of this? It's about becoming whole. It's about making this huge shift from a life spent chasing approval from other people to a life where you are the one who holds your own heart. This becomes your new mantra. It's about stepping off that treadmill of trying to be perfect and stepping into this radical honesty where you can look at yourself, wounds, flaws, and all, and know deep in your bones that you are still worthy of love. Think about that transformation. It's everything. You go from being the little kid, always looking outside for someone to say you're okay, to becoming the adult who can wrap their own arms around themselves and say, I'm here, I got you, I'm not leaving you again. That is real power. So we'll end with this question to leave you with. Healing isn't about becoming some shiny new person. It's about remembering. It's about remembering who you were in all your messy, brilliant glory before the world taught you which parts of yourself you were supposed to forget.